movies like LOL why, and then that'll be it.
You timestamp your lols.
I like organized it a little differently where I got some intro stuff. I got some what I like about the movies, just some general thoughts. I've got a couple trivia things, and then it's
All right,
all
no wait.
timestamp notes.
When we get to that part, Troy, I'm gonna need you to cut into what I like about you. Dun, 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 dun.
I thought about it today. I did press record, so whenever you want to take
Yeah.
the reins, Jeremy, go for it. But I thought for a second, like, oh man, because Jeremy, at one point in time, you put up the full length video file of a movie that we had watched, but I just couldn't figure out how to get it like into not GarageBand, iMovie, and like edit stuff through without it being like a complete pain in the
Oh,
butt. But it would be a lot of fun. As I was watching the review, it's like they cut away to clips of the movie like every 15 or 20 seconds. So it makes it much easier to watch a review like that versus just an hour and 30 minutes of chat. I was like, that's not worth it.
I will
I'm
say that
sorry, too lazy to do that.
Eva did talk to one of her friends, and she was telling them about how we were watching old movies, and so she's told one of her coworkers. Her coworkers apparently like, well, my boyfriend or husband or whomever, he likes old movies. So she said, well, you should go look up the OMIO podcast on YouTube. I was like, I don't recommend this for anybody, but if he wants to, I mean, I'm not going to hate on him. So.
gets a little
Excuse me.
better
I
every
have had
time.
this cough forever. Forever.
Oh, I've Rumja,
Yeah.
I'm getting over 2 week cold. I had a crazy ear infection where I got to
Oh
take
man.
these giant horse pills. It's antibiotics. And I still
Yeah.
don't have full hearing in my right ear. It's
Man.
wow. This is the sickest I've been in a while.
Yeah. It's rough.
Wow. Well, you know what's not rough?
What's that?
1979's The Warriors. That's what I was gonna say.
I
Am I
couldn't believe this
hosting
was.
tonight? Am I on permanent hosting duties just because I take notes?
If you'd like to be,
I'm okay with it.
I'm certainly would not mind.
You just got to tell me if I need to rein it in.
No, I mean all the notes. I mean, I think we've kind of settled into like an hour and a half, pretty much time span is like the longest we've gone, and like there's a lot of jibber jabber between anyway. So yeah, man, I don't think you go to no more. I mean, more
We've
notes
been
than maybe a
watching a
lot
lot
of
of
people
hour and a
want.
half long movies also, so it pairs nicely.
Yeah,
That helps.
that's a good
Needs
point.
to continue. Hour and a half long
Uh,
movies. Just want to
right,
put that out there.
right. I totally agree. I totally agree. And it seems like yeah, I don't think we've specifically wanted to do a theme, but there's been a lot of like similar. This one reminded me of what we just watched too.
Yeah. Yeah. So to bring everybody up to speed, last time, previously on OMIO, we watched John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. This feels like a logical progression from there, I feel like. Maybe borrowing a little bit of at least tonally and thematically from that, but based on the original novel by Saul Urich, directed by Walter Hill. Walter Hill directed some other gems like 48 Hours and Another 48 Hours and Red Heat and lots of direct to video B tier movies
Is Red
that
Heat a
you've probably never heard
Schwarzenegger
of.
movie? It
Red
is.
Heat is
Yes.
I think that's his only Schwarzenegger movie.
Okay. Wow. That's
There
one I
was not a
have
lot in his
It's a,
not seen.
filmography that I recognized.
Okay.
it's one
Yeah.
with Jim Belushi, if I remember
Is
right.
that
Where he's
right?
Russian. I think Jim Belushi's like his American counterpart.
Wow.
I
There
haven't seen
are.
it.
I thought for a while that I had seen like almost every movie that he had done just by default of it getting at a video store or something. But yeah, he's been in a
Mhm.
lot of movies I still haven't seen from like the 80s and 90s. Surprisingly so.
I ironically been watching, as I mentioned via chat, been watching Tales from the Crypt,
Okay.
and that all started from us watching
Creep show.
Creep Show. Thank you. That like it gave
Yep.
me like this. I need to watch Tales from the Crypt, so I'm watching Tales from the Crypt. You know, it's got the Crypt Keeper. When I was a kid, thought the Crypt Keeper was so scary. Now I realize supposed to be hilarious, like tongue in cheek at least. And this episode starts, and the crypt keeper, like, I don't know, falls down or something, or like there's some sort of gag, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the crypt keeper's lair, and he's like, I'm Arnold, and and he introduces the episode, and then the episode starts, and it says directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger,
That's
and I was
weird.
like, what? Yeah.
What year were
So
these shows?
I
Like
thought that was
early
pretty
90s
amazing.
or late 80s or both?
It's the 90s, if I remember right.
Is it?
Yeah, I think all early 90s. It's 7 seasons though, so it goes on longer than expected, and they're not like, it's not like I don't know, Black Mirror or whatever, where there's like 8 episode seasons. The pilot season, I guess that's what you call the first season. Pilot season's only, I think, 8 episodes, and then
Okay.
from there, okay, so season 2, the episode I'm on is called The Ventriloquist Dummy.
Okay.
Written by Frank Darabont, directed by Richard Donner.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's got Don Rickles and Bobcat Goldthwait in this episode. So if season 2 is in 1990, so I would assume the first season was 1989.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a sister show called Tales from the OMIO or something. I don't know. All right. Well, anyway,
Old TV, Otobio.
I would find it fascinating to go back and watch those because, to your point, like I was a little bit too young to really be able to watch them.
yeah.
So maybe I might have caught something here or there, but definitely did not like tune in to
Well,
something.
and this is a side note. There really
1990.
there is some gore, but it's more like blood, not guts for the most part. And then there's a lot of like creature, practical horror effects, but you don't see like a lot of gore per se. But the funniest thing about it, and this is something that I've realized from watching old horror movies, is sex scenes. Like sex scenes from the 90s are not how sex scenes are anymore. In fact, it's almost like there's not really many sex scenes anymore in movies. But 90s sex scenes are hilarious. Like they try to make it like really erotic, like this is what the audience wants. And there's like the saxophone music, and it's very sensual, and it's a borderline uncomfortable to watch now. But they don't make movies like that anymore. And it's so funny because Tales from the Crypt reminds me a lot of, if you guys remember this show on I think it was on TNT, called Silk Stockings.
I know the name. It was a little
I
bit.
know the name.
I
Yeah.
was not of age to watch it, nor I think
Yeah,
it's like a soap
I
opera or
I
something
always
along
felt
those
like I was
lines.
getting away with something watching it,
Oh wow.
but
Okay.
it would always start with some illicit, like, love affair gone wrong, murder, and then the rest of the movies, like, or the rest of the episode would be solving the crime. But it was always had this air of 90s sexiness to it that's so cringe now. Anyway, there's that's very present in Tales from the Crypt. The episode I watched yesterday, Patricia Arquette.
I like Patricia Arquette.
She's not nude in it, but she's like wearing like a tight shirt with no bra, and like it's very clear what they want you to take from this. And
What's
anyway,
Tales from the Crypt on HBO?
yeah,
What was it on? Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah. I don't think I've seen an episode that has direct nudity. Definitely sex, obviously violence and horror stuff. Anyway, I could go on and on. I've watched I think like 20 episodes in the last
Wow.
2 weeks.
Wow.
So
Well, the
there's
show
some better than
inspired
others.
some good. Then that's good.
Yeah.
And I over the holiday they had Rio Bravo for $5, so that is now on the $5 club. I haven't updated the list because Assault on Precinct 13 was supposed to be inspired by that, and I don't see it. I mean, I listened to the commentary by John Carpenter, and he even says that he ripped it off. I don't really see it. They're like basically running around a whole town in Rio Bravo, like as the sheriff and stuff. But worth
How old
$5
is-
for sure.
How old is Rio Bravo? Obviously older than Assault on Precinct, but
Ooh.
that sounds old. Like,
57. It was like in the late 50s, early 60s, because it's a western. They
Yeah,
stopped
it's
making westerns
color.
basically in the 60s.
but it's got Dean Martin in it, who's like a famous singer, and some uh, other famous person besides John Wayne. It was a trip. So anyway, sorry, that was a good catching up.
1959.
Wow. Okay. It didn't seem that old either. I can see why that would inspire John Carpenter for sure.
Also, within the holiday season, we watched as a family. We watched Krampus tonight.
Oh man, what a great movie.
Chef Bearchimp, so good. All right. Well, anyway, cast
Warriors.
of back to that. Yeah, back to the Warriors. Cast of Warriors. I know no one in this movie. I looked at several character. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a major character. I don't know who anybody is other than James Remar,
Raymar,
who
yeah,
always
Ajax.
plays a that guy. He's always a that guy.
Dexter's dad. Isn't he Dexter's dad in Dexter the Showtime show? If I remember right.
Yes, good call. Yeah, that's the only cast I can think of.
So there is one person that I knew of, but I had to go. I was like, I feel like I know this person, and it's the DJ from, when who's calling out like the Warriors, like, so we're coming to get you, or you've been naughty boys. Do you know who did you look up who the DJ is?
It's. I didn't look it up. I recognized her. It's
Okay,
the chief from Where in the World is Carmen San Diego, isn't it?
exactly.
I watched it, and you can just see her mouth from here down. And I'm like, Stacy, come
Yep.
here. I'll bet you can guess who this is. And she got it too. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah. You could tell who watched a lot of Where in the World is Carmen San Diego back in the days with Rockapella.
yeah.
Gumshoes, I need you to get out there and find her.
Ooh,
What a great voice though. Like really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
great.
totally. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just a couple. I did try to gather some once again unverified trivia from IMDb, as I like to gather.
Okay.
Saul Urich wrote the original book as a rebuttal to the romanticized view of street gangs presented in West Side Story, based on his experience as a New York City welfare department worker. Interesting. Other than that, that's all the intro I have. Other
Sure that
than,
this
and I'm sure we'll get
did a
into a
good
lot of
job of
different things.
unromanticizing it.
What's that?
I'm not sure that this movie unromanticizes being in a gang.
Well, yeah, that's probably, but I mean, there's a lot of like bad guys in the movie.
Oh yeah.
There seems to be rampant crime, and nothing in New York City is safe. It almost feels like I've never seen Escape from New York, but it almost seems like some sort of dystopian version of New York, even though I don't know that it's supposed to be.
This movie has me so completely flummoxed that I don't know. I can't wait. Like I said, I could not wait to talk about it. It's like I don't know what to think. I don't know if I like it or not. Um, it's bonkers. It's absolutely just bonkers. I think. And to
It
your
is.
question, like it's really nothing like Escape from New York. Escape from New York, New York City is supposed to be like this abandoned prison yard where like you can't get off of it. They shoot you if you try to escape by boat or what have you. Um,
As somebody said, take the most valuable real estate in the world and turn it into a prison island. It's like this is America in the future. Like what the hell?
but there's not like really massive violence going on. It's very like quiet and subdued. And the city is just it's not there. It's just a prison. Um, in this movie, it's like New York just completely is going on, and this weird gang subculture is just coexisting in it, where people can walk around with baseball bats in their face paint, and it's totally okay. I mean, which is
Yeah.
I guess you could
Yeah.
arrest somebody for just doing that, but I don't know of anyone that does that.
Shit was
Yeah.
crazy back in the late 70s.
I mean, was it though? I don't have any frame of reference. It was a couple years before I was born, but
Well, I think we talked about it that I forget if it was for Assault on Precinct 13 or what, but I think we kind of talked about how apparently there was a point in time where, like, Times Square's was an utter crap hole, and
Sure.
then they've
Mhm.
cleaned up. Especially a lot of New York has kind of gotten through. I don't know if it was gentrification or if it was just some sort of like massive effort to like kind of rid a lot of this stuff out of the more touristy areas of like Manhattan and such. Um, but apparently that's not how it was back in the 70s. New York was not kind of the glitzy town that you think of nowadays.
Mhm.
Which is
Yeah.
it's so funny because I didn't even put the two together how close this was with like there's gangs in Assault on Precinct 13, there's gangs in this, and just a completely different portrayal. Like it was not incredibly realistic in Assault on Precinct 13, just people that are going to go crazy marching into a police station to kill themselves just to get back at this one person, blood feud or whatever it was. But like this is I said almost comical. Like it's not meant to be taken seriously, right?
I
Like
don't
there
think
were
so.
never really gangs
No.
that looked like this.
Oh, I don't. Well, I think there probably were kinds of gangs that would like have their own special like vest and insignia and such,
Okay, like
but
bikers
no,
have
it is.
leathers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
bikers
So
still do that.
I
Yeah.
don't. I doubt there was a gang of people that dressed up like baseball mimes. Like I don't. I was watching one of them. I'm like, those are just literally mimes. Is there a gang of mimes running around New York? And I don't know if that's kind of like in this is kind of creating an alternate reality kind of New
Okay.
York. Like it's not supposed to be taken seriously as like a real like probably like the book may have been of like a real diatribe against gang culture and that and the realities of gang as opposed to this, which is like we're going to give everybody kind of some flashy little details that kind of make them a little bit different from everybody,
Mhm.
and the way they talk is different, and they do have some reality where it's like, oh, the orphans, they're in a gang, but they're like a lower caste of gang, a lower tier of gang. So like,
Right, right.
you
There's
don't have to take
different
them
tiers of
seriously. Yeah,
respectability.
yeah. So
I
I don't
wrote it
know.
down
It's all very
later in
weird.
my notes, but how like this has to have inspired basically every side-scrolling beat 'em up video game of all time. Like I'm watching
Yeah,
this, I'm like, I see elements of Final Fight, I see elements of Double Dragon, um,
hmm
I, and then like obviously then they made the Warriors game, which I went and looked back, and I think Jeremy Dunham at IGN reviewed it back in the day, and it got like an
yeah,
almost like an 8.7. And
Wow.
I
yeah,
watched a lot of gameplay of it, and it actually looks pretty faithful to the game, and it even uses the score from the movie, and the
yeah,
likenesses of all the warriors are in the game too. So
yeah.
you can't play it on any modern console, but I'm sure through emulation it's possible. But I was just like, that's a whole we could have a whole separate conversation about that. But it looks like that game is extremely faithful to this movie, which I find so odd because this came out in '79, and then I'm guessing that PS2 game was like probably like 2003 or something.
Yeah,
Probably was a late
2004
generation
or
PS2
five.
game.
Yeah, 4 or 5
Yeah.
probably. But yeah, yeah, just
So
that
like
general area.
who and I'm guessing it didn't sell well. I'm just like somebody out there had to have been the biggest fan at Rockstar to say like we need to make this game. But it's like I think it speaks to the lore of the movie, and I we'll talk about it at my minute marker 10:45. Can you dig it? Um,
Yeah,
and how many pop culture references there are to that? Like this is a like to us, it's probably not, it's kind of like a random street gang movie, but like within pop culture, it's kind of a big deal, which is I think really interesting for a movie that I think a lot of at least our generation hasn't watched.
yeah,
I saw it for the
that's
first
probably
time
fair.
like relatively I mean, past 10 or 15 years probably, like never even in
Same.
college or anything like that. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
had no frame of reference. But
This
I
was
said
my second time seeing it.
I'm not sure if I like really like it or don't like it. Or, so I say I like your idea of alternate reality, Matt Jones. So I can tuck all the like, why is this like this? How does that like? Can these people really walk down the street? Like, nope, I'm on board. I'm ready for notes. I won't interrupt.
All right. Well, kick it off from the start.
Sure, why not?
Two other just little tidbits. I already brought it up once. The score is amazing. Love the score in the movie. It's
Agreed.
predominantly like 4 or 5 instrument rock band score, but I thought it was great and captured the vibe really well. The other thing that I thought was fairly progressive for 79 at least, it's extremely diverse cast.
Mhm.
We've got we've got a white lead character, but the rest of the gang is pretty varied, and that had to have been a little different for the time period. I thought that was cool. I like all the characters; they're all interesting in their own ways. I have no idea. I think one of them's Cochise. He's the guy who does the Native American kind of garb in the gang, who's black. But I mean, it's like pop quiz. Name 4 characters' names in this movie: Cyrus,
Swan.
Swan. I
Yeah,
don't know. It doesn't even matter.
yeah, Vernon.
Yeah. So,
I only
all
know
right.
because I looked up IMDb when I was trying to see the cast of these people. I'm like, who are these randos?
I was
Yeah.
gonna bring that up earlier. I was like, oh man,
All
I
right.
feel bad because
Oh.
I don't remember anyone's names. But I made it a point that last time watching, like, okay, really try to remember. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, I don't know what the
I
girl's
think
name is.
I think the
or-
gangs are the characters. Like it's almost like
Sure.
the gangs are the characters, and then there's just little like personalities within them. I don't know. All right, opening with a comparison to Greek soldiers being surrounded. And this is, yeah, there's like a whole comic book thing at the start. The Greek soldiers are being surrounded. It's presented in a cell shaded comic book style. And the movie frequently does this comic book thing throughout. You don't remember the Greek soldier thing?
That's a different version, I think.
Yeah, you watched
I
a
think you
different
have the
version of the
director's
movie.
cut.
Oh, interesting.
We can still
Yeah,
share
Did you
this
because
guys
if
we
have
want.
did
comic book
not
stuff in
have
your
the.
version?
Mm-mm,
No
not
comic
at all.
book?
Uh-uh.
None.
Oh, I'm so curious what I watched then.
If you
There'd
have
be scenes where it'd be like Swan is like looking questioning, and then it'd like kind of zoom out, and he'd be cell shaded, and then it'd like move over to another panel like a comic book for the next scene transition. That's so wild. I had no idea I was watching a different version.
I think that's a
Yeah.
director's cut or it's some other
Wow.
alternate version. But if I think Matt, did you say it's on regular Amazon right now?
Yeah, I watched it on Amazon
Okay, so
Prime.
if you have regular Amazon, you can
Interesting.
watch it.
Okay.
But
All right.
I bought it on there, and it's the regular, I guess. Or unless that's the I don't think that's the
I'll
original.
watch the
I don't know
do
if
the
there's any
director's
differences.
uncut.
Maybe, unless it's just the
That's crazy to me.
comic book stuff.
I don't know. There's like comic book shit all over the place in it, where it's just all in scene transitions. It's not like during, like it's not like it just breaks out into cartoons in the middle, but it's like transition, like this end scene to a new location or something like that. So
Okay, I kind of want
I'll
to see
mention
that.
it in my notes when it comes up. It's
Is it distracting at all? Because I guess that's the only way you've
No.
seen it. So okay,
No,
okay, cool.
I mean, the whole thing is so surreal to begin with that I don't think it really
Sure.
took me out of it, but I thought it was an interesting choice. And since I'd only seen it once and it's been a really long time, I didn't notice like, oh, that's new. Like it's been too long. I
Right.
didn't really remember
Right.
that being different. So
So I'm reading this up on this. So it is the 2005 director's cut because when they released the video game in 2005, they also released a brand new DVD with the director's cut, and I think I think that's where you're getting a lot of that extra stuff in there
oh, okay.
because the
Like
1979 version, there's nothing about the Greek stuff. It's literally just like the in the dark Wonder Wheel. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the stuff.
we're
Okay.
going. They
Gotcha.
immediately they're going to the meeting. I guess is the beginning
Yeah.
of the
Okay.
version I have.
Subway
Yeah, it's not an
train
extensive.
stuff, and then
Yeah. So okay. And I didn't
is
have
that
this
like
in my
trying to
notes,
make
but
this into like is that like trying to make this like these little warriors into like 300? Like is that what
I
it's
think
trying to
that's kind of
do?
what it was getting at because it had like some
Oh,
text on the
okay.
screen, like the Greek soldiers were surrounded and they had to find a way out or something. And then it cuts to the subway credits. Then the opening credits were amazing also, with lots of zoomy text and such. But
That might have been. I remember
anyway,
really,
I'll mention some. Oh, go ahead, Troy. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I really liked the opening credits on, I guess again the theatrical version where it was a lot of like Matt Jones was saying, like neon light, Wonder Wheel, subway, them talking for a couple seconds, more subway. Um, yeah, good like establishing
Credits.
stuff. If that's the same kind of introduction, I don't remember. I can't remember the text was just like their names in between that too, but I don't remember if they were like zoomy or not. Interesting.
They would like start at the very end of like the train tunnel, and
Okay.
then kind of move forward for the credits. That was the credit things coming through, and it would
Cool.
show names on it. I thought that, like, I love that the shot of the Wonder Wheel is like super iconic to me. I think that's like the title screen in the Warriors video game, if I remember right. It's just Wonder
Mm.
Wheel, and it shows the Ferris wheel going around, which I thought was super cool.
And it comes back at the end, which is great.
Hmm.
And this would have been shortly after Manhunt,
I forgot
right?
about that game.
Yeah,
Rockstar did Manhunt.
they did. Yeah.
Because I mean, there's vibes of this game. It's almost, I don't know. I got vibes of the Warriors in the Manhunt game, which I played that game, just the first one all the way through.
Oh,
Really?
I never played that game.
Wow.
It's
That's like a
wild.
completely forgotten game, isn't it? Like no one talks about
Yeah,
Manhunt
it's
anymore. Or Warriors for that
well,
Yeah,
matter.
it's like
nobody talks about Murder
hey,
Simulator, the game. You know?
But
yeah, it's a
isn't that
wild game.
Rockstar?
It
Uh-huh.
is, yeah.
So it's like one of the people that have like the highest selling or one of the highest selling properties of all time, like also did this weird, to your point, murder
State of
simulator.
Emergency, also another weird one.
Oh yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very.
And then Smugglers Run 1 through
Smuggler's Run.
2, I think.
I don't remember that.
I think there were two. Yeah.
All right, so
Midnight Club.
credits were awesome. I'll sprinkle in the comic book stuff as
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have it in my notes, but otherwise I doubt there's much different other than, did you guys have a dinosaur in your version that came out late in the movie? I'm just kidding about that.
Hold till time.
There's no dinosaur. All right. Let's see. So movie starts. Warriors are reminded that they would abide by Cyrus. I had a note that this is mega John Carpenter vibes. Dark, gritty, slightly dystopian. Minute 3:35. Badass intro showing various gangs approaching the subway with awesome music. I did want to ask if I had a note, any favorite gangs. We already talked about the baseball gang. They'll come up later. I thought they were awesome. Do you have any other gangs that you really liked?
I mentioned the mimes. The mime gang. This is an interesting one. No.
Overalls with
All the
the
rest of
one
them is
guy that
kinda-
was on the roller skates. I thought they were all gonna have roller
Oh, yeah.
skates, but just the one guy had roller skates. But they were all wearing overalls with like stripe undershirts for some reason.
I think they were Men at Work. That's a gang. It's just the gang Men at Work. Do you have a favorite, Jeremy?
Minute 7. No, the baseball ones, but I didn't realize they would be so prominent later in the movie, so it's kind of like an
Yeah.
obvious pick. They like clearly like saved one of their cool gangs for like the main antagonists. So a lot of them are just wearing like matching t-shirts, basically.
Yeah.
That's what do you think a gang is? That's all a gang is.
In this
We beat
alternate
other
world.
people up and we all wear the same shirt.
But it's not a leather jacket with a patch on the back.
Um,
It's
so-
like sequined purple vests, because why not?
And the orphans are so poor, are such a low tier. All they can afford is like the same olive green T-shirt. You know, that's all they can do. That's how I knew I was in that gang. You know,
I can't
heaven
wait to talk
forbid-
about the orphans.
We
Heaven forbid some rando just buys something at Walmart, an olive green shirt at Walmart, and then suddenly he's getting indicted for crimes against the community. You know, I should have known better.
and I apologize, guys, that I don't know if it's my internet, but I'm getting some freezies. So if I talk over you, it's because I think no one's talking, and then the freezies happen. So
Oh, right.
apologies.
On. No worries. No worries.
All good.
7 minutes 15 seconds. What do you know about Cyrus? He's the one and only. One of the guys said that. I love that line. They're like going around like, well, Cyrus, what do we know about Cyrus? He's the one and only. I'm like, bravo. So then we get to the Cyrus sequence. Minute marker 9. Can you count suckers? I like that line. We get can you dig it? 10:45 is when the actual can you dig it line comes.
3 times in a row.
I was gonna say
something like that.
I'm glad that the entire audience was patient enough to wait for the 3 can you dig it's before they all suddenly cheer. So very, very that was good control by all of the gangs. They know wait for the 3rd time, then you can cheer.
It might be his
And maybe
thing.
there's a Gramercy riff that you don't see behind that says like hold, and then suddenly like he says it the 3rd time and then the sign comes up and says applause. I don't know.
Please hold your applause till final can you dig it. What were you saying, Troy?
I don't know. Nothing really.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever been? Have any of you?
Oh, there he.
Have any of you ever been to a like a TV show recording, like gone out to LA or New York and been in a? Oh, so I went to LA once on some trip with my dad, and we ended up going to like a taping of the Norm Show with Norm Macdonald, and like
Okay.
you go and you sit in this audience. You'd think it'd be a fun experience. It is a miserable experience to sit in one of those audiences because they like have like a red light up so that you don't like laugh over the scenes where you're not supposed to be like laughing, and then they put a green light for like, okay, now you can laugh and such. And that's I'm imagining the red light and the green light when they're doing these things, like celebrate, don't celebrate, wait, hold off. So it's I don't recommend going to a taping of a like a sitcom type of show. I will tell you. I'll put it that way, because otherwise, because they keep repeating, they have to come back in. Like, oh, we flubbed a line. Well, all right, we got to come back in and do parts of it over again, and then you got to laugh the same way as you did last time. It's like, but we heard the joke
interesting.
Exactly. That's when the
Yeah,
laugh tracks come
it's
in.
not. Yeah, yeah.
I give them
So.
a lot of credit for being able to do that kind of stuff because, as I mean, obviously I'm not an actor by any stretch of the imagination, but like thinking about performing and having to do something over and over again like that versus being like a play actor or something like that, where it's like, yep, you got to do it. And if you go great performers that night, great. If not, well, next night will be better. That would just suck, especially for comedy. Where it's like, I mean, like, can you imagine Jeremy like playing a song and then being like, oh, sorry, crowd, we're gonna play that song again. Like, you just played that song.
So
yeah, I didn't
at
like
that
the way you
same
guys cheered.
on that same trip, I did go to a showing of an Eminem concert, and Dr. Dre came out, and it was one that was I wasn't aware of at the time, but it apparently was being recorded for pay-per-view. And Dr. Dre came out to sing "Forgot About Dre" with Eminem, and completely screwed up the first verse of "Forgot About Dre." And so, like, they did the concert, and then I think at the end they're like, "All right, we want everybody to stick around. Like, this is going to be out on pay-per-view. So we're going to do Forgot About Dre one more time, and we want you all to cheer just the same way as you did before."
Whoa.
So that he can come out and actually sing the like lyrics properly. I was like, this is the weirdest concert I've ever been to.
That's nuts. Wow.
Yeah. That was a hell of a trip. I tell you what, I learned a lot about the world in that one trip.
Yeah. Like everything I've ever seen is a lie.
It's true.
Well, just like that, that's the producer's last ditch effort of like, what can we do? Like, this is the best we can do is just ask people to stay and sing again, and whatever we get will be whatever we get because we cannot air what we actually have. And now they could probably just gimmick it up, I'm sure. Like,
fix it in post.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, cut when he screws up the lyrics, you cut to a different scene, and you just somehow magically with your music just like edit in the proper lyrics, and then cut back to Dre singing the right lyrics, and you never know. You would never know he screwed up so royally. So,
man.
Anyway, I apologize. We can continue
No,
with
no.
Cyrus.
Yeah. So can you dig it? I did mention that lots of pop culture references. I picked one that I thought you guys would know that I don't know, but I was like, they'll know. The Simpsons Trash of the Titans TV episode 1998. In his speech at the U2 concert, Homer shouts, "Can you dig it?" I don't know what this means, but I was like, well, that's actually later. Probably Troy, you're a Simpsons aficionado, but that's probably later, right?
What season and
That's
what
like
was
season 7.
Oh, I don't know. 1998. That's all I know. That
what
had to have
was
been
I moved. I
TV
didn't start watching The
Trash with the
Simpsons
Titans.
until like season 8ish, and that was in like 99. I think 98, 99 was season 7s and 8. So I'll look it up. Trash of the Titans.
I've probably seen it like that. I think I've seen almost up through season 10, like
Oh,
where
it's
I
season 9.
okay, so this would be on the tail end of
Wow.
when I was actually watching, so I may have seen it once. Not like season 5, I can almost recite every episode probably verbatim. But yeah, but that's again like the sweet seasons, like seasons 3 through 6, 3 through 5.
Yeah, I was definitely not watching. I think I was right around season 9. I'm like, this is not worth it anymore. What am I doing?
It seems like this sequence has been quoted a lot for comedic effect more than anything, but could be wrong.
The Cyrus speech.
Yeah. So we got, and this is a pretty impressive scene because it's like a lot of extras. Like every gang is there. It's I had Cyrus appears to be setting up the ability for the Warriors and all the gangs to align and maybe like some sort of peaceful coexistence. And I'm very intrigued by this Cyrus character. I'm like, where is this going? And then Jabroni shoots Cyrus, and that's a pretty cool, like, you know, he lines up this like pistol shot, takes out Cyrus. Police show up, raid the party, the gangs scatter, and then somebody just goes, "The Warriors did it," and then everyone
It
just
was the
goes
guy who
along
shot
with
him.
it.
It was
Yeah,
the guy
yeah,
who shot him.
yeah. And then it's funny how like the guy who shot him says the Warriors did it, and everyone just goes along with it and is like, well, I guess he's right. And then the rest of the movie is them on the run because the one guy said the Warriors did it.
I mean, if no one else saw, which it's hard to, I mean, that's again suspending disbelief of no one else saw, and obviously later in the movie we find out that somebody did, but it's so simple, but it's also brilliant. Like that makes perfect sense. Like blame it on someone else, get everyone into a frenzy like immediately. Oh yeah, we also saw him do it with your other gang buddy. Like okay, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but that's pretty brilliant. If you're just if we understand that character so far as he explains, like he's just the guy that likes to burn the village, whatever the Batman line is. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Just want to watch the world burn.
He's like, I just like doing stuff like that. I'm having a good time. I think he says later, like when everyone else is stressed out about stuff, he's like, I'm having a good time running from the cops.
It is funny too. Like there's no clear motivation of why they shot Cyrus that I'm aware of.
He says, I just like doing stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
like a direct line, I think, later in the movie.
Ne'er do well.
So yeah,
a no good Nick.
but I'm glad you brought that up, Jeremy, because
Who would have thought there'd be a no good Nick in these gangs? Like, what the hell, man?
well, everybody else was on board for Unity to take over the city, whatever that really meant. I don't know if that means like just the gang activity or like we are going to be taking money from the police. I think he might say at one point in time. It's never clear exactly what the gangs
like,
do and how they operate, but I think to your point
it's
earlier,
like street level mob. It's like they're going to become like the mob, where they're like, if you want to get through the city, you're going to have to pay us some restitution, and I guess they'll share the restitution for everybody. Otherwise, we'll bring the city to a halt because there's 60,000 of us and only 20,000 cops, so we could beat the crap out of them. And what are they going to do? How are they going to get us? So
that line actually, that was in the trivia too about that line got a lot of flack. That like they didn't like that it was called out that they outnumber the police because it like made the police worried that like I don't know if there'd be an uprising in New York or whatever, but yeah. Well, from here, not a lot happens for a little bit. I mean, they're on the run, they're running. It's pretty clear shortly after this that Swan is kind of established as the leader of the gang. He's challenged by somebody else. And then this is where they set up that, hey, if we get separated, we're going to meet the platform at Union Square. And good gosh darn, that platform at Union Square is brought up regularly, like every 7 minutes for the rest of the movie. Like, we just got to get to Union Square. And there's a lot of heading for the train. And then, at least in my version, we have a comic book transition at this point.
Okay.
Fast forward to what I refer to as the Black Ninja Gang. I don't know what they're called.
I have Kung Fu Ninja Gang puts the hit on the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the Gramercy riffs. The Gramercy riffs.
Where they go, hey, riffs, and they go, oh yeah, or something like that. Well, they have
Okay.
That's Cyrus's gang. It's Cyrus's gang.
Okay.
Oh, that
They're
was
supposed to be
Cyrus's
like
gang?
the heavies.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they're the reason they're chasing out the Warriors is because they're enacting their revenge for taking out the lead. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah. And they're supposed to be, from what I'm getting is that the Cyrus the Gramercy riffs are are probably the best organized and one of the tougher gangs.
And they
in
have a
the
lot
city.
of
So
they have
nobody
big
wants
numbers too.
Yeah, a lot of numbers. You don't want to mess with them. They're not just a bunch of guys that are kind of they're going to be there. They're, as we see throughout the whole movie, they're the ones pushing to bring the Warriors in, and then at the end, when they find out the truth, they're the ones that go and do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So,
but
anyhow,
is there a reason why I thought they were ninjas? Aren't they doing kicks and stuff?
they look like they're in robes.
There's actually a lot of
Yeah.
kicking in this movie. A lot more kicking than I was expecting.
Yeah. Good call. You're very right. And not just the Kung Fu big gangs. Other gang members are doing a lot of kicks.
Mm-hmm.
So Gramercy, what are they called? Gramercy what?
Riffs.
Okay. So after we see the Gramercy riffs, a song called "Nowhere to Run" plays, and it's totally badass. It's we get the montage of all the gangs.
Got that written down too.
Gang montage. Getting all ready. We're ready for the Warriors. It almost is kind of reminds me of Kevin McAllister setting his house up before the Wet Bandits get there. It's but the song is awesome. Yeah. So after that, they're running along. We get the Turnbull Aces. Is that what the ACS?
I think so.
I feel like that's a typo. Okay. Okay.
I think that's right.
And they're driving
Aces.
around, and they're looking for somebody, and just happen to be on the street with the Warriors, of course. And they're like, "We got to make the train." And then the bus turns around, and then he says, "We got to go. Are we going to go for it?" And then they promptly just run right in front of the bus for just wait 1 second until the bus goes by. This is not a problem, but it's clearly set up for a chase sequence. I said the bus would have easily caught up with them and run them over. But that's okay. So there's a great chase sequence. They get on the train and narrowly beat the Turnbull Aces, and they escape and they celebrate escaping on the train. This is at minute 28. Anything I missed?
Nope.
Nope.
It's going bullet point for bullet point. Gang montage, bus of skinheads chase.
I think they could have it could have been edited or framed better, but I understood that they saw the train coming, and everybody that's ever gotten on a train knows you have a limited window before that train's taking off, and
they
so,
barely got on when they got
on, which is what you want because that's exciting. Yeah. And it also allows for them to escape from the other gang. Because if the other gang gets on, that's not good. So, the intent of the sequence made sense. But I agree with you. It was edited in such a way that they ran in front. I think they ran for too far. They should have been closer to the station, and then they should have and then they should have been running in front of the bus for the 50 yards that they were. That doesn't make any sense. And then the bus drives by them and nobody gets off. It's oh, I wonder where they're going. Maybe they're going to the train. We should just park in front of the train station. So none of it's edited in a very wise way, but I get it. Like they're trying to make it exciting and stretch it out a little bit. So,
And it has that
What?
classic where the bus is bearing down on them. I mean, it's like imminent. They're about to get bowled over. And then when they make their break for the stairs on the train, it's like a quarter mile away behind them.
yes,
And it's just like a
yes.
continuity error more than anything. But I love it when like I catch things like that in movies like this. And who knows? Like, I don't know how much this movie costs. I'll bet it wasn't a ton. I love to think that like 4 million. 4 hundo? Okay, 4 million.
4 million. Yeah.
So I'd love to think, and this is probably not uncommon back then, where people just filmed shit and didn't have permission or permits or anything. So like we may have one shot at that bus turning around and then running on this. Who knows?
Yep.
Also, they called them lousy skinhead fucks during this part. I thought that was funny too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good time to bring it up. Where I was thinking, again, seeing this probably in my late 20s, early 30s for the first time, I'm thinking as an adult when I'm looking at the movie, right, about all these kind of like continuity errors or just like stuff, to your point, like edits that could have been done better. If I would have seen this in 1991 or 2, or whenever I saw like Terminator 2 or Aliens, this would probably been my favorite movie. But yeah, it's hard to kind of like pass some of that stuff as seeing it as an adult. But I'm just wondering, like, what would this movie have meant to like a 12-year-old in the early 90s? Like, I bet it would have been awesome. So
I mean, if you're like a teenage boy in 1980, like what is cooler than this movie? Like we're before Terminator.
Yeah. Same year as Alien, right? And Alien's like a slow kind of. I mean, I love it, but like boring sci-fi slasher.
Yeah.
It's more like a sci-fi horror. It's more like a horror movie than a cool actiony movie.
Yeah. Aliens, the sequel, becomes an action movie pretty much, but
right.
Yeah.
That's 7 years later.
Yeah, it's a wild movie. And I mean, this movie kind of like is nonstop.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So celebrating, they escaped on the train. I have another comic book cut back to Black Ninja Leader guy. I don't remember what he said or did, but they're probably still looking for him. And then they're back on the train, and the train is on fire.
Something else is on fire that stops the train.
Okay, what was on fire? Just
I
something.
think it was the train. It was the tracks. Somebody threw I think somebody started a fire on the tracks.
Okay. To me, that read as we need to get them off the train to do something else for the story. Yes. So we'll just say something's in on, something's on fire. We got to get off.
Because if I remember right, the leader is told that the Turnbull Aces just saw them and they got on the train. And so I don't know if it's true or not, but it like my thought is that somehow the Riffs got with somebody that was over in that general area, and it's like just start a fire on the tracks so that the trains can't go through. And so that'll flush them out.
And one of the characters implies that he says, you got to wonder who started that fire or something like that. It's like a really quick, like 2-second little thing.
Okay.
I guess what they call it, like a clever script. Like they do set up and pay off stuff, kind of, but in the world of this fantasy thing, because Jeremy, again, I thought the same thing. Like, well, that's convenient. Like 2 seconds before, it's like, yeah, we're going back to the big Coney Island, baby. Yeah,
right. They can't just ride to Coney Island and then the movie's over. Yeah,
we need an hour and a half movie. Is like, oh my god, a fire. Like, well, I guess that's the end of the line. Like, you were on the train for 20 seconds.
If someone didn't set the tracks on fire, we will never meet the orphans.
No, that is what's coming up next.
Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I don't know if you remember that meme.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So before we meet the orphans, though, we cut back to the original shooter, bro. From he's on the phone, letting once again them know that the Warriors did it. I think he's talking to somebody from the Riffs,
or his personal gang. Which are they the Rogues?
But the Riffs want them alive. That's called out.
Yes, right.
So
and the Rogues don't, because again, the reason why they called out the Warriors is because when that guy shot him and everybody kind of ducked away, like the guy who shot him turned around and saw one of the warrior dudes staring right at him. And so he was about to shoot him and he couldn't because the lights came on.
The Warriors are the
So
only witnesses, essentially.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. And then it turns out like some rando dude is just like, oh yeah, no, I saw who shot him. As you know.
Yeah.
Like there weren't 20 people right around there that had the gunfire go off right in their ear and be all like, what? And see the guy who did it. But
you would have thought he would have borrowed from John Carpenter and had him have a suppressor on the pistol. Yeah. That's a great takeaway.
Oh no, he did, but it was more real life, and so people did hear the gunshot as we talked about.
Yeah. All right, so we're at minute 33. The orphans seem to allow the Warriors safe passage after a brief interaction. The girl in pink shows up. Pink shirt. I don't remember her name.
Mercy.
Mercy.
I said, good Lord, women of this period are the worst looking in the history of women. And it's not anything against that particular woman. The styling of women in the 80s and late 70s is just horrendous. Even the most attractive women look the worst they've ever looked. That's the only point I'm trying to make. No? Am I on an island here? The dirty, fluffy hairstyles,
she's a gang member in the orphans.
No,
she's
I'm not
dating one of the orphans.
I'm not talking about her in particular. I'm saying this highlights this era of like the way women were styled. And I mean, men too. There's some horrendous styles for men as well of this era. It's not aged that well, but girl in pink escalates the situation.
They couldn't be concerned about how they looked. They were having stagnant economy and massive inflation. What are we going to do? We got to do a bare minimum to get by.
Crimp your hair and wear spandex.
That's right.
So they appear to have safe passage. Girl in pink escalates situation for literally no reason. But wait, does she secretly respect them? I found her character to be utterly unlikable, top to bottom, for the entire duration of the movie. Personally, I don't know if anyone else liked her. We get a little rapey here shortly after this too. There's a few little rapey. Got a little rapey a few times. Never actually gets rapey, but it gets close to rapey. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't ever felt that Swan actually was rapey, but I think he was intending to try to scare her off by acting rapey, which not make it much better, but it's still I don't feel like there was any real intent behind it. Ajax, on the other hand, definitely rapey. Definitely probably would have been if it was him saying a lot of that stuff. I'd be like, yeah, he's rapey. So like, that's a different character, but. I don't know.
Well, at minute 43, Jabroni Squad shows up again. Seems to be up no good. Now, here's the question. Does the Jabroni... What did I mean by these notes? Did I mean Jabroni Squad being the orphans?
Show back up, yeah.
I'm guessing it's the orphans, yeah.
Okay. Warriors back up on the subway after escaping from the orphans and now ambushed by the police. But I'm skipping over the orphans fight sequence, right?
They just throw a Molotov cocktail and run away.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and then that
that's I feel like a lot of these are fight sequences in this movie, which detracts a little bit from my enjoyment of it.
Well, there's all this implication that there's going to be lots of fights throughout the movie, and there's probably like 2, really.
Baseball bat gang.
Yeah.
Baseball Furies is like the biggest fight that I can think of. Like they really get into fights with the Baseball Furies and the Lizzies, and that's about it.
Right. Yep. I got the Lizzies here coming up soon.
I forgot about that fight.
So they escape. They get on the subway a second time, ambushed by the police. They run away. Now they're confronted at minute 47 by the baseball bros. I have a note
Yeah.
that the soundtrack to the movie is awesome again. There must have been some great music moment here.
There's been a split that some
Oh,
of the
yes.
folks got on the train again because when the police were there, some of them got on the train after, I guess, running up the stairs and then running down the stairs. The old circle back.
Where are they
other
going on
ones
the train?
all ran up
Where do they got to meet, Ramja?
Union
The
Station,
platform at Union Square. Yeah.
Union Square. Yeah, that's where they're going. So yeah,
So you have to
I forgot
transfer.
I
about
just wanted
the
to
separation.
before we get to the Furies, I wanted to point that out.
So the Furies, those are the baseball bros.
Mhm.
I'm not the best with names.
They are baseball Furies.
So this is when we get our first real fight sequence, I think. Baseball bros get their asses kicked in an epic
Troy.
battle by the Warriors, even though they are heavily outnumbered. This is not at all how this would happen, is what I wrote down. They have no weapons. All the baseball guys have baseball. There seems to be like, I don't know, 20 plus of the baseball guys, and there's like 4 or 5 of the Warriors.
Turns out there's like 7. Yeah, it turns out there's only 7 or so. Yeah.
But they're wimps. Yeah. So
that's how do you explain beating up a bunch of guys with baseball bats? Yeah, they're wimps. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I can understand that if they're truly good fighters and the baseball bat guys don't get into, they call it bopping, which I think is really funny. And it's never explained if bopping is killing or just beating up, because it kind of means both in this world, it seems. So, yeah. And you boppers out there. But yeah, so yeah, I can buy them winning. I can buy them winning the fight. Once you get one bat. And does some of them have knives or something? I can't remember. They do when they need them.
The Furies don't. They don't use, and then Swan doesn't use it till later.
Very end.
The Lizzies have them.
Yeah, and guns.
It's crazy. Sorry.
No, you're good. After this amazing battle, minute 51, we have radio DJ Miss Carmen Sandiego announces that the Warriors are halfway there. I love how she's like the voice, like carrying them on. I'm like, what station is this? How does she know this? No one has cell phones. There's no GPS, but she knows. That's fine. I won't ask questions. Half the Warriors arrive on
payphones. They're using payphones and they're calling in tips to the radio station. It's WGNG Gang FM. You know, what are you gonna do?
Right. This is why it lends itself so well to a video game too, I think.
Yes.
I'm gonna go watch like a long play of this now because I'm very curious after we get off of here and I eat like a sandwich or something.
Excuse me.
Minute 51, we are about halfway through the movie at this point. Half the Warriors arrive on Subway, and I wrote Hubba Bubba.
The Lizzies.
Or Hubba Hubba, I mean, not Hubba Bubba.
They see the Lizzies.
This is where they meet up with the Lizzies. So,
yes.
And then the one bro, after the baseball fight, he says he's going to go back for the lady while the others carry on. I'm like, this is suspect. And I said that this lady is sus. And then it gets very rapey, and then he gets arrested. And I said he deserves to get arrested, so good for him.
Was she a cop?
Yeah.
That's the implication, yeah.
Okay. Because, like, at first I couldn't tell if she was a civilian that's trying to, like, okay, he's going to assault me, so I'm going to try to, like, get him close so I can handcuff him and then blow a rape whistle, or if she was a police officer, like an undercover that was like there for a sting operation. So, yeah, I don't know.
In this society, I feel like you could have sting operations like every day of the week in many places.
Right.
So 2 things. Number 1, the lady is the same. That actress is Danny's mom in Last Action Hero. So. Random like connection. Mercedes.
And we said there weren't any celebrities in this movie.
You know, there's
incorrected.
The other thing I was wondering as I was watching him, like, so would she have handcuffed him if he wasn't like rapey? If he was just because she was kind of like encouraging him to like make a move, and what if he was gentle and treated her nicely? Was she gonna be like, oh yeah, never mind, I don't want to do this, and be like, okay, or would she have handcuffed him and be all like, no kissing people in the park, and like,
Yeah.
wait, like because Ajax got what was coming to him, like there's no
Right.
doubt about it. Like
Yeah.
Ajax is not a good dude, and he got what he deserved. But
Yeah.
I
He
always
has
just
no place in
wonder,
the
like,
Warriors.
no, get him out of here. He's fighting over who's going to be war chief or who's going to lead,
I
and
forgot all about
he
that
was
little
gonna,
thing they threw
he
in. You're
was,
right.
he was getting really rapey with Mercy while Swan was just trying to scare her off. Like Ajax, nope, he was trying to be rapey, and so like they this is what is it, addition by subtraction for the Warriors, in my opinion. So, but I just wonder, like, what was their
Mhm.
plan here if he wasn't going to get rapey? Like,
Yeah.
we've set up the sting. Oh no, he's not rapey. What are we going to do now? I don't know.
Just pass him
Yeah.
along.
I agree.
Be on your way, sir. Okay.
So from here, I don't know what this means. At 59:30, slow-mo baseball bat throw to the shins, and then very shortly after that,
Oh,
we're with the Lizzies. So I don't. What's the baseball bat to the shins? I don't remember what I meant by
so
that.
when they beat up the Furies, they took baseball bats,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think the like Swan and them were going to Union Square, and he saw a police officer coming at them, and he slow
Oh,
motion threw the baseball bat at the guy in the
that's
leg,
right.
and it was
Yeah.
Swan and I think Mercy or
Yeah.
whomever. So
Very dramatic shin hitting with a baseball bat in slow motion. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. That was a good comment to write down. It is funny. The police have done nothing wrong in this movie. But like anything bad could happen to them and it's fine. They're just like literally trying to enforce the law. That clearly the gangs are the problem. It's fine. All right. So now we're to the Lizzies. At 1 hour, I have Coachy saying, quote, I hate asking the question, but where's the dudes? And I wrote LOL after that. I thought that was a great line. The Warriors are very happy to be spending time with the Lizzies at this point.
I was expecting, I was like trying to figure out, like, it's an all-girl gang, and they like eventually like pull knives on him and such. But I
Mhm.
was like, when I was watching I think it's Rembrandt, the dude with the big hair, who's sitting back and like not getting involved with any of it, watching them. I thought when the two girls were dancing together, the thing that was going to tip them off that something was wrong was like eventually they like get up and they start kissing each other, and it's like, oh no, they're lesbians. And it's like, wait a second, they're not really into us. And then they pull the gun on them or the knife on them. I thought that was what was going to, and it did end up
They're
happening. They were
not the
just like,
Lizzies. They're the.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Tough
You know
for
where
the
I was going.
punchline, Jeremy.
Oh man, I caught a bad one.
Yeah. Bug down my throat.
Ooh.
So that was a trap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
They
they
were
Somehow
listening to the
they,
radio and
yeah,
were on the
yeah.
lookout for him.
So,
Or I
excuse
thought
me.
that the radio was going to say something about, like, because they haven't heard the radio and these girls are listening to music. I think they did play a vinyl, so I was like, I was expecting something, but I thought that they were going to hear on the radio, like the DJ lady saying, hey, all you out there, it's like the Warriors are the ones uh who got Osiris, so make sure you bring them in. And they're like, wait, what? And then
I'll
the
bet they
girls
wish
bring
they
out
thought of that, Rumja.
yeah.
See, I just assumed that they had heard it earlier. Like all the gangs are
Oh no,
tuned into the gang network. Oh,
the
I see what you
Lizzies, I
mean.
think the
Yeah.
Lizzies
Okay.
knew and had heard this before, and that's why they
So
seduced them to bring back to their lair. But then the Warriors hear this for the first time
okay, I
on the
got you now.
radio, and it's not just the Lizzies saying, like, aren't you the guys who took out Cyrus? And then, they pull out the switchblades and such. So
Since they're
I
still
don't know.
clueless, like, oh, Lizzie's. Yeah, I like that name.
If they only had that extra like $1 million to go back and do one more over on the script. It's like maybe we should do this instead. Whatever.
Still pretty good. It's still pretty good.
And they had the great thing where the guy just like he just kind of like barrels through like a glass door or something. Like he just is like, I'm out of here, and just and then just goes through it. I always love those. I don't care what it is. Anytime somebody's running through like a door or a glass thing, it's always cool to me. I love it. It's so simple. It's usually pretty dumb, but it is so effective. It's like, man, that guy really needs to get out of that location. Just go right through a glass door.
We did miss. Well, I wouldn't say we missed anything. Blue shirt lady smooching sequence with Swan, where she's like, "Oh, maybe I'm just running for myself."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
the pink shirt lady.
I thought she did blue shirt. Is it
She
pink
puts
shirt?
a blue shirt over.
Oh, well,
because
whatever. She's the worst
Absolutely.
character ever. In this whole sequence, I'm just like, this sequence with her and Swan, I swear, I wrote down, this feels like this has been going on for an hour. And then we finally got back to the brawl. I hate that character so much. She adds nothing to the movie whatsoever. She's literally there. I don't know why she's in this movie. She adds nothing.
I will push back slightly that she unlike probably what you would call a stereotypical female character in these gang movies, she's not like the trophy. Like she's, I think, trying to be a trophy to a better gang. She's trying to like move up,
Right.
and like the guy's kind of like not really having it. But then also that discussion, like she's kind of talking about like, hey man, like I got a shitty life. Like I'm just trying to make it. Like I'm a person, and I'm like, they don't usually give, especially in a big gang movie where there's like, other than the Lizzies, there is basically only like two women, her and the DJ, in this entire movie. Like they're giving her at least a little bit of characterization, and it's better than that. It's actually, out of all the characters, like she has a character. Like she and Swan are the only people that really are more than just kind of like flat, like just cardboard cutout characters that have no characterization at all. So
Right.
I do appreciate that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, she's not the greatest
She's
actress.
she's a mercenary too. She's looking out for herself. Like it's a
Yeah.
tough society to thrive as a woman in this kind of environment. I get that.
Like and I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but like that scene and the scene where like they're finally on the train going back to Coney Island
This
and
is train
they're
part
all
3.
like beat up. Was that? Yeah,
This
yeah.
is train
And they're
sequence
all
3. Okay.
train sequencer. They're all beat up and looking like crap. And then those like the prom people come on, and it's like, the happy life versus like the life we're living. And like
Oh,
those
yeah.
two scenes are like the biggest moments of like, hey, probably as we're talking about the book, as I kind of said, like those are the moments that are actually probably more reminiscent of the book, where it's talking about how like, hey, being in a gang ain't all it's cracked up to be. It's not a glamorous life. This is a crappy life, and these people they're not living lives that they would want to live, but they're just trying to make it in this world. And like, and then they're juxtaposed, I think it's like juxtaposed, yeah, against like people like, like me, who live in the suburbs and don't ever worry about these kinds of things, like
Normies.
different normies or whatever. I mean, for those people, for the gang members, that's their normies, and the other people are just like, are not, or abnormies, I guess. But I don't know. That's the one thing I will
It's
say.
fine. It's just like that kind of direction is for a more sophisticated movie, I think, than this. Like,
I will
like
probably
keep in
agree.
mind, like we're just minutes ago we had guys with sparkle paint, dressed as baseball players. So I don't know that it earns, but I appreciate what it's trying to do, and I did. That's hour one. Sorry, 1 hour 20 minutes where the nice clean cut couple gets on the subway. I have that later. That is a nice moment. It's just kind of like, all right, what's this movie trying to do? But I just hate this lady so much. And then just minutes after where we're at 1 hour 13, roller skate bros have been following. Blue shirt lady tipped them off. She's the worst, I wrote.
Such
She didn't
vitriol for her.
intentionally-
Wow.
Yeah. I liked,
Oh,
and we haven't gotten to we just talked about it, but I will say I did like how she's like on the train and trying to like doll herself up a little bit to make herself look nicer, and Swan just like grabs her hand and is like, no, no, don't try to make yourself look nicer for these folks. They don't deserve it. Let's just stare at them and make them uncomfortable by the way we look. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. I liked that. I like those. That's like little characterizations that add a little bit of spice to the proceedings. I liked that.
Yeah.
And then the fight. Oh,
Um,
this is another fight. This is
Yeah.
actually There are
1
three
hour
fights. I'm
15.
sorry.
Yeah. Fight scene in the
There's
public
three fights.
restroom.
How
Ends
could I
with
forget
Bro
about the
flipping
toilet
a guy
fight?
into the stall towards the
Yes.
camera.
yeah, I
What?
remember that.
That shot is so cool. It probably broke the camera. That was my thought, at least at the time. Yeah, great fight
Yeah.
sequence. This is with the roller skate gang. Well, only one.
Overall striped
Rollers.
shirt.
Yeah. The men at
Little
work.
shield throw.
This is the best fight. This is the best, easily the best fight in the whole movie.
Mhm.
Because it's like, and it's like it is not like they're not wimps. I guess. Like I guess they're stepping their game up a little bit to. Oh, we only have to throw a Molotov cocktail and scare off the orphans because they suck.
Yeah.
Well,
Level
Furies
scaling,
look tough,
they call
but then
that.
you just yeah, that's right. You beat the crap out of them, and then we move on. You gotta keep hitting up different tiers of bosses, I guess. So
Had to
They've
bop the
unlocked
right home.
3 special moves at this point in the movie.
toilet throw.
Yeah,
The
good
side
fight
character,
sequence.
Mercy is like helping out a little bit, but doesn't really do all that much. That's a normal for
Mhm.
fight characters. You know, the little side character that doesn't really help out a lot.
And then sketchy neo-Nazi guy shows up with black ninja guys and says, "That's who killed Cyrus." And then they escape again, beat up, back on train sequence 3. And this is where they're like kind of licking their wounds. The nice clean cut couple shows up. And
Going back to Coney.
Mhm.
Yep. And then I believe at that point, 1 hour, 21 minutes. It's like the next day, the sun is rising. I think must have been a long
They made
subway
it
ride.
home.
Maybe this is where
It's
we
been
part
a long
ways.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I get a little fuzzy here on what my notes mean. 1 hour 25. Creepy neo-Nazi guy rattles bottles together to creep them out.
Are the rogue neo-Nazis?
No,
I don't think they're neo-Nazis.
no,
They're
he
just
looked
bad
like a
guys.
neo-Nazi guy. He kind of reminded me of this is a deep cut, but in The Rock. You guys have seen The Rock? Do you remember one of the main bad guys that reports up to Ed Harris? He gets the ball, the VX poison gas ball to the mouth near the end.
Oh, I don't remember that character,
Okay.
but I remember.
Well, spoilers,
that guy
but he
getting-
reminds me a lot of that actor. I have no idea what his name is, but
I've seen the.
he's
Rock,
not a
so it's
neo-Nazi in
spoiler.
that either. I don't know where I came up with that. He just has neo-Nazi vibes.
For some reason, he reminded
He's
me
just
of
a
Kurt
creepy
Cobain.
dude.
What'd you say, Troy?
He reminded me of Kurt Cobain, and like kind of sounded like him when he's like screeching and screaming the Warriors. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I don't know how old Kurt Cobain was at that time, like in his teens, but yeah.
Yeah, probably right.
Anyway,
But this is the iconic. This is like I think this is even more so than "Can You Dig It" is the line of the movie. This
Come
is the
out,
one
Warriors.
that people think about. Warriors come out to play. Yeah.
which hey, now I feel bad because I don't know my hip hop history, but that was like a line in like the first Wu-Tang album or an ODB song or something like that, if I remember correctly. Like it was
nice.
very famously used, or Busta Rhymes, something like that.
That had its own section of cultural references on the IMDb page too, where they referenced the "Can You Dig It," and then there were a bunch of pop culture references to this line too. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right. So what happens? Then I refer to neo-Nazi guy as Sean Penn.
Yeah, I see that too. I can see that too. Absolutely. Spicoli.
Yeah. He is, yes. That's a
There's a
good
pep
shout
talk
out.
going on into what's expected to be a final fight scene, and then after 4 minutes, Sean Penn talks trash and gets blown up.
It just, by the way, they sampled that dialogue from Shame on a N-word.
Okay.
Shame on a
So
man never
it is,
finds a fix,
yeah,
hit
yes.
the trigger.
It's from so Troy was right. It's from the Wu-Tang.
That song's awesome. Enter the 36 chambers.
Well, then I don't feel bad for not knowing my hip hop history because I did know my hip hop history.
You did know it. Yeah, the one thing I will say about the fight at the end is there are people behind Swan, and he throws the knife, and the guy shoots. Where did the bullet go? Nobody gets shot.
Pulp
Like
Fiction.
nobody gets hit. It's like what happened? So that was another thing that like I didn't quite get. Like I didn't see his. You don't see his hand go up and then hear the gun, like because
Right.
he got it. It's just like, it's like wait a second. That
So,
bullet should have hit one of these 7 other people that are right in my area,
or him. So, I mean, do you just think it's like
or
a
him.
lack of coverage shots so they couldn't edit it properly? Like, because
I
I'm
guess
I'm totally with you.
I was very confused.
Still pretty
I
impressive.
I felt like this final fight sequence was like it was built up like it was going to be bigger, and then it was kind of not out with a whimper. Like it's a good ending, but like I was expecting something epic, and it's like fairly quickly resolved.
Yeah, definitely good take for it.
Well, to my knowledge, unless I wrote this down wrong, the final line of the movie, "You Warriors are good, real good, the best."
Best.
Yes.
And then credits roll. Comic book outro is what I have, but maybe you have a different outro.
We did not have a comic book outro.
Yeah,
That'd
they
be
like.
really weird if you did only for that one
Yeah,
part.
I think they're like running down the beach or playing on the beach.
Yeah, I think they're just walking. I think it's Mercy and Swan
Yeah,
walking.
it's a good ending. I liked it.
So, Troy,
Mm,
you seemed early on unsure if you liked this movie.
yeah.
After discussing it, highlighting some of the great moments, blue shirt woman, I know, probably big turning point for you. Is it blue or pink shirt? I don't
She
even
wore a
remember.
She's
pink
wore pink.
dress,
With a
and then
blue shirt.
she put a blue jacket on later on, so that because they're like she said it, and even she's like the people out there looking for someone in a pink dress, so I didn't want her like to stand out, and so
Maybe it was different in the director's cut, Matt Jones.
maybe there's a comic book version.
Maybe that's why you hate her so much.
I hate her
mean,
so much.
I would say the conversation about her in particular helped me because I didn't dislike her, and by the end of the movie I was kind of on board with her and Swan, like having some sort of like attraction to each other. If they're supposed to be in their teens, like again thinking back to like what teen romance was, like oh yeah we just met on the streets, like yeah I could see this working, like okay that's kind of cute, whatever.
I'm
Guys
only
supposed
laughing
to
because everybody appears to be like 30 in the movie.
right
Also.
right, but they're supposed to be
Yeah.
younger whatever
Youths.
gangs.
Late teens, early 20s.
But
Yeah.
like I never understood the first half of her character being in the movie. It's like she just kind of like randomly showing up. But then when Matt Jones was talking about she's dating one of the orphans, like if she's already at the point where like she has to be dating gang members because that's where she is in her life, like okay, this is a step up. So I'm gonna see if I can like hang out with this gang. It's like okay, I didn't get that until this conversation was like that's as simple as it is. Like all right, I'm a gang groupie or whatever. Like I can just go on to the
She's a
whatever
hoe.
might be best. But then at the end of the at the end of all of her discussions, like I appreciated her character, so I liked her
She's
a lot more after this
opportunistic. She's taking
conversation.
advantage of what she can get from people around her.
And
Again, I don't get that
she's
from
at the she's at the lowest of the low dating an orphan. Whatever she's doing.
Maybe you
Well,
shouldn't have
no,
dated
he's
an
the
orphan,
leader.
you know, because the orphans are jabronis. Maybe that was her first problem.
That's right. Well, That's just the neighborhood she
She's
was growing up in.
I want.
I was she lives in Jabroni neighborhood. When you get to see Warriors walking through, you try and jump on that train.
I mean, apparently there's trains going by all the time. Get on that train and go find some better gang. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Soldiering.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail so much the conversation with my dislike of that character. I understand why she does what she does. I just find her unlikable throughout the whole movie when most of the movie is filled with like the warriors who are like cool and doing cool things and like acting. I mean, they're mostly being, I wouldn't say heroic, but somewhat virtuous, you know, in the eyes, in the face of like adversity and been falsely implicated. And then this woman shows up and then she makes everything worse for them for plot reasons. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, she does instigate. I mean, to your point at the beginning, like she does instigate a fight between them for almost seemingly no reason, except for like status of maybe the orphans at that point in time, but then realizes like, no, I'm going to try to go with. So yeah, I can see her that immediate dislike. I kind of forgot about that part of her character, but
I don't think you're not supposed to like her early on,
no,
and because she's going against the protagonist, and then you're eventually supposed to warm up to her, kind of like Swan eventually warms up to her. So
worked for me.
Yeah, and then in the deleted scenes from the director's cut, he threw her in the ocean at the end. You guys didn't see that part. It was awesome.
That was the crowd cheered.
Part. There was actually an applause track when he threw her in the ocean. Well, anyway, not about her, but post discussion, Troy. What do you think? Did you end up liking it more or less the same?
I think I like it more because having a coherent conversation about was just an absolutely silly movie. But obviously, three adult men can follow the plot points along and have somewhat constructive conversations about them. It's like, okay, it's a legitimate movie. And then also putting it into time perspective, like, okay, this came out the same year as Alien and Halloween, I think. And it's what's that?
Halloween was the year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just even a year after, like, this is pretty quick editing and action and stuff like that for some of it. So I don't know. I think I liked it more after talking about it. I can say I would say now I'd recommend it to someone that hasn't seen it. That's our age. Like, yeah, why don't you go ahead and watch it? It's an hour and a half long, and now you'll kind of know where all the references came from.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm curious about the video game for sure.
Rumja.
It's very similar. Having played and beaten the video game, it's very.
Oh, you played and beat it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I missed that from earlier. Okay, if you said that, I missed it.
No, I don't know if I did or not. I mean, that's 2005. I didn't have a job just yet, but I had an Xbox, and so I definitely played it on the Xbox. Yeah, I'm. It's a lot like, to me, it's a lot like Assault on Precinct 13. Like these are kind of like partner movies in my mind, where a lot of it like is plot wise very paper thin, and eventually you get to a point where it's like, all right, like what special is going to happen? Because you're just going from like thing to thing to thing to thing, which you can say about a lot of movies, but but some of the performances I think are pretty good. I like some of the stylings, like we talked about, like, okay, all the gangs are looking different, and it's kind of cool. But like it's not like special. Like there are certain shots that I think are really cool. Like an opening shot I really think is cool. Like whoever decided, like, hey, let's just film the Wonder Wheel at dark, like going around. It's like, that's awesome. Like that's really a cool looking shot. But I mean, overall, it's not a great movie. I think I'm with Troy that I like. If somebody said like, "Oh, should I watch it?" It's like it's an hour and a half long. It's kind of like there are kind of fun things about it. It's kind of cool. So like, sure, but I don't quite like. There are a lot. I mean, I know we all watch a lot of Red Letter Media stuff. There's a lot of. This is like, I wouldn't even say this is like an elevated B movie. It's just a straight up B movie. Like I don't feel this is like that great of a movie. Like there's nothing production wise about it that makes it that special. And none of the real disappointing thing to me is like those fight sequences. Other than the one other than the one in the movie and the restroom, they're just not great. And you'd expect something. I would want something more out of a gang movie. Like I'd want the fight sequences to be a step up from what it was. The restroom one was. I do look back and I'm like, that one was kind of pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, like I don't like most of the characters I don't care about. Like even on the Warriors, like why do I care? Swan's the one who gets the most verbiage time, and he seems to be the one that's like probably the protagonist. But you know, it could be made a lot better. I thought that the Rogues guy, like he was really creepy. I like they gave him more characterization than most of the most of the Warriors. It would have maybe I don't know like I don't know if it would have made it better or worse. Like if we like the Rogues hate the Warriors for some reason. Like I don't think that would have made it better. I like the thing. It's like I'm just doing it because I like doing it. Like it sounds about right. So yeah, I don't know.
Because my gang drives around in a hearse.
Yes, yes. If this had been set like 30 years in the future, it's supposed to be set in like not a post-apocalyptic but like a more dystopian New York and such, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe that makes a little bit more to it, but I don't know. It's
Yeah,
not a
like
great movie.
make it like a Mad Max offshoot, because it's like not far from being kind of a Mad Max movie, really, when you think about it.
It's true,
But
Mad Max is cooler,
right,
better action sequences, much better action sequences.
$4 million
Much
is
more.
kind of a lot of money for 1978, really. Or 79.
Considering Assault on Precinct 13 was made for like $200,000.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't think this looked drastically more expensive, other than clearly a lot more extras and characters and costumes and things like that. But yeah, I think I would agree with you guys on everything you said. I liked it. I enjoyed it probably more the second time, but I did notice more silliness and ridiculousness than I did the first time, which made it enjoyable for kind of a different reason. But I don't think it's silly enough to be watched as like a goofy B movie. It's like the movie takes itself fairly seriously. It's not trying to be funny. It's not trying to be silly. Some of it's aged, some of it's budget, some of it's, the fight sequences. Like I'll bet this movie was shot in a very short amount of time, like probably like 2 weeks or something like that, if I had to guess. And the acting is not tremendously amazing. But there's just some sort of charm about it. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. That it's not like a traditional kind of studio film of that era. And I like how it's a little dark and gritty, even though nothing really that bad happens to anybody in it. There's still that feeling that something could happen.
Well, like now
the
I'm
worst
trying
thing that happens is the kid that gets thrown on the train,
right,
like in the train tracks by the cops. That's the worst thing that happens to anybody in this movie.
Forgot about that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Now that I'm thinking about it, the movie starts out at night. You don't see daylight until the very, very end, which I think that's kind of like a gets in your brain. Like, oh wow, I've never been in this world in the daytime. It's just all been like grimy night New York, which is one of my takeaways of like, it's kind of cool to see area piece United States that I wasn't born yet. Where it's like, okay, that's what the subway looked like at parts of the city back then. That's crazy.
And think about it, like, this movie probably ran all over the country. Like, could you imagine like this is playing in rural Indiana?
Right.
And people are like, damn, this is what New York is like, like, because there's no internet.
Right.
And I'm sure at this point New York City had a little bit of a reputation for being rough at this point. This is it was kind of mid to late 90s that New York's image kind of rehabbed. Pre Giuliani. I was trying to look that up before we started. I don't know the history of New York mayors and all that, but Anyway, I think it's a cool movie. I would recommend people watch it, but it's not one where like you know how every once in a while you hear somebody says like, "Oh, I've never seen Shawshank Redemption," and then usually somebody will be like, "What? You have to see Shawshank Redemption." Like I would not respond in that manner to the
No.
Warriors.
You know, this is the best thing I will say about the movie is that it would be absolutely perfect for like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or one of the other offshoots of it because it does take itself very, very seriously. And yet there are a ton of extremely goofy things about it. And like when a goofy thing is taking itself very seriously, and there are so many like long pauses and lots of opportunities for like throwing jokes in, it would be a perfect Mystery Science Theater movie. In fact, I
Also,
wonder if it's already out there on Riff Tracks.
also just to add, and I'm not saying go back and rewatch the director's cut, but like the comic book little things make the movie feel like it's taking itself less seriously. Like it's like, oh, this is in a sort of fictionalized pulp universe that a comic book would live in, that it lends itself well to the movie the way, like I thought the transitions and stuff were really cool the way they did them with the comic book stuff. And I think that changes the vibe of the movie enough that I don't know, is worth consideration. I give them credit for that because I get what they're going for with that kind of artistic choice. If there's any artistry to this movie, that is. Music is emotion.
There is not a Riff Tracks. So Riff Tracks is like three of the guys from Mystery Science Theater do Riff Tracks. There is not a Riff Tracks of the Warriors. There is a Riff Tracks of 1990 the Bronx Warriors, which is a like probably like one of these Italian made movies. I don't know if you ever see about these B movies where it's like the Italians get like two American people and then they have them do things and then they dub all these other Italian people talking, and
Oh no.
it's usually all like very cheap, which is just hilarious. It's usually great. So
Do you guys,
I'll have
I'm
to
not
see that
saying that I recommend this, but doesn't it feel like this is the kind of movie that they would remake now?
one. I don't know, man.
Sure. I mean, they remake
Probably.
everything, absolutely
That's true.
everything. So I mean, when to your point, when something like this hasn't been remade, there's probably something legally, like somebody wants a lot of money or something.
Oh, well,
Until you Google it.
it looks like it's happening. So I spoke too soon. Wait, is this right? How old is this article? Because you know sometimes these things get greenlit and they never happen.
Oh, Tony Scott had planned a remake of this in 2005.
It looks like it's been attempted a couple of times. The latest thing I'm seeing, the Russo brothers set to direct a remake,
What have they
but
done?
I don't know. It does seem like something that could be remade, but I don't know how you capture all the goofy costumes and it be played straight. So then is it like Jonah Hill is in one of the gangs and it's like a 21 Jump Street remake, which I don't think fits the vibe of this either. I don't know if
And
anyone
in
saw
Wicked,
21 Jump Street, but
oh yeah, oh my gosh, that both of those movies are excellent. The
I
first one
agree.
especially
I
is
had
so
zero
good.
expectation. That's one of those
So
zero
good.
expectations movies that I wouldn't say blown away by. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, well that's Phil Lord and Chris Miller who
Oh,
did
I didn't
Clone
know that.
High. Yeah, oh yeah,
Lego movie.
yeah. They did the Lego movie.
Lego
They
movie's
do
brilliant.
Spider-Man, Spider-Verse. So yeah. I saw something about that there was a conversation that one of the guys from that did the Crank movies wanted to remake it, and I was like, I could see that guy remaking a Warriors movie and having it be pretty cool.
Is that Paul W.S. Anderson? Is that the or no, I'm okay? That's good. He needs to not do anything ever again. Huh.
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, I feel like we usually end with
What are we
Troy final
watching?
thoughts, right?
What are we watching next time? Oh yeah, takeaways. Uh, you brought up a lot of them, which is great. The sheer amount of extras and costumes is pretty crazy. when you're watching that beginning scene in particular. So when you're talking about having everyone clap or do whatever at the same time, that would have been probably pretty tough for like a
Yeah.
B budget movie. The all the city shooting was super cool. Like I said, era shooting with that good of quality is always interesting to see. Uh, having to wear a shirtless leather vest for the entire movie like seems like a horrible gig to have. Like, oh, I'm starring in these movies. Like 3 or 4 of us have to like run around for hours with. It seems like uncomfortable.
What are they? I mean, I don't know. You're not dealing with it. I mean, maybe you are, but it's like 20 degrees out here right now in Indiana.
Oh
What do these
man,
guys do during the winter?
good
What happens
call.
with the Winter Warriors? It's like,
Good
well, I'm
call.
still going to wear my vest, but I'm going to put on a nice thermal underneath. Keep myself nice and toasty.
They're snowbirds. They go to
Oh,
Yeah,
Phoenix.
that's right. I appreciate just how
terrorize
simple
Phoenix.
the plot was, and I mean, we talked about this many times, like how it just keeps on going. Like you start off and there's no backstory. It's just we're going to meet this prophet gang leader. Like, okay, I'm on board. And then we talked about this too, where I guess this is the last thing I wrote down, but then it was the first thing I tried to talk about was like, what if this was like actually real? But then Matt Jones simply said, no, it's like a alternate reality. It's like, okay, like
Mhm.
because I've never been somewhere where I've even seen anything close to what people dress like in this, especially in big groups with weapons. I mean, if I saw like 3 guys on the bus or train with shirtless vests on, I'd be like, something's a little off. And we should
It's
probably
time to move cars.
call security, all the numbers that they have plastered everywhere. If you see something, like, please report. Like, yeah, there's 3 guys in shirtless leather vests.
I'm reminded of video game 20 questions.
Mm.
Oh
Is
boy.
is Gotham City located on planet Earth? And they're all the arguments
Oh, man.
over that.
Man.
It was argued on many episodes of
Do you remember what the
does this
answer
take, they'd
is?
always ask that question, does this take place on Earth? Well, is Gotham
I, th-
City
I think the answer is technically no,
right?
but because it does not take place on our planet Earth, but it
Right.
does take place on a planet Earth.
The multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
a little
sorry
long.
for the quick aside, but I just was thinking about that while you're talking, Troy. All right. Well,
I think that was it. Oh yeah. What if it's ridiculous, not real, and that's now I enjoy the movie even more thinking about it in that way. Not like this was really they're really trying to portray New York in 1979 this way. No, it's a goofy take on whatever they're trying to talk about, which I dig.
yeah. Oh, I'm seeing on IMDb there's an ultimate director's cut. Is that what I watched, or did I just watch the regular director's
That I
cut?
don't know. I'll have to look into more of this difference in versions, but I know that there was one. Oh, we can end on what are we watching next time? It's surprising how similar these were, because I don't think we talked about having a similar movie when we were picking it.
I didn't. I mean, when we picked this, I didn't really, in my mind, think that it was. Oh, yeah, that's similar to Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah, me either.
But
Yeah,
this
we'll
is
have to
what,
find
3 years later, 2 years
we'll have to
later.
find a different time, a different era of movies if we're gonna kind of do something very different.
Do we want to go anything holiday related?
What's on there that's holiday related?
Right. Yeah, I think we tried to have that conversation already.
Yeah, let me look at the.
Citizen Kane does have to deal with some
Die.
snow.
It's first Die Hard. No one's ever talked about the first Die Hard.
Yeah, no,
No
who's
one's
ever
had a
talked about
discussion
that
on that
movie?
one ever. Oh wait,
The
look at the
second Die
list.
Hard is also a Christmas movie. No one's ever talked about
It
the
is.
second Die Hard.
I like that. From what I remember liking the second Die Hard
I
movie.
like Die Hard, Die Harder 2 as well.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all the Die Hard movies pretty much. So
When was the last time you saw Die Hard 2, Die Harder?
It's been a while. I remember hearing that it was significantly less good than the first, and I watched it and I was like, I don't know. I thought that was pretty damn good to me. So I was like, I don't know what he was talking about.
I think I think when I first saw it, I had the same idea because I was of the age where I was like, oh, I'm so smart. The sequel's the same thing as the original. It's like,
Mhm.
duh, enjoy the ride because it doesn't come out every year. And when I do
Yeah.
it like that, it's like, yeah, it's the same. It's kind of the same movie in an airport, but there's a lot of cool set pieces and
There's no Hans Gruber, and like the villain in the second one can't hold up to Hans Gruber.
I mean, that's true.
And that's not like a disservice to the second one. It's just like Hans Gruber's like one of the great villains of all time in American cinema, I think so.
And Alan Rickman's a really good actor too.
Right. Clay. My name is Clay.
Bill Clay.
Bill Clay. All right,
Okay.
well, I'd be done with that. I
right.
don't, Troy, I don't know if I have.
Mm.
I mean, you shared it with me, but I don't remember or have the link handy of the full list. I found the Library of Fat Troy, but this is your
No,
records.
the funny thing is, this is the exact same conversation we had last
Well, I look forward to having it again next time.
OMIO show. Like, I don't think I have this list. I've got Library of Fat Troy, which I remember mentioning last time. That's like an old vinyl list from 2008.
Let's see. I think it just said Die Hard 2 is leaving Prime in 7 days.
Well, it's not leaving
Nope.
Mitchell
It's
All
not there.
Access.
Or
I know.
$5 Club.
I'm checking Hulu. I always look at. No offense, I like Mitchell. Mitchell All Access is great, but I'm always trying to find something that like I can do like and get it with my stuff.
Like with some sense of legitimacy, and you won't
Well,
know
so I
that
don't
you're watching
accidentally
the
watch
ultimate.
a comic book version.
You're like, oh, am I watching the ultimate director's cut? I have no idea. Well, I'll find out when I talk about it with my friends.
Yes.
Wait, you didn't have comic book sequences in Die Hard 2? I did.
That would actually be pretty good. I like Die Hard too.
I was watching your faces if you believe me about the dinosaur, because it couldn't it?
No.
Oh yeah,
Run to believe me.
We got it on Hulu, baby. Yeah.
I don't know if this is for the show, but do you want to like try to look at our calendars and see? I know.
Oh, we can say what up and then I'll end the recording just so it's not really long. Okay, and what up?
All right, and what up?
And